I was lucky enough, for those of you, I didn't know that they had pea sprouts at the Stop and Shop. So I got some, which is pretty sweet. They will eventually, I think, have these for sale at Morning Glory or one of the other farms, but I didn't see any when I was there. So those are a fun little garnish that we're going to use in addition to the parsley, because parsley and Parmesan and lemon are just such a great vibe together. So I'm going to keep those.
Yeah. So thank you everybody for coming tonight. This is a really exciting one for me. Because risotto has always been scary, and I think it's been scary for a lot of people. All I can think of is just like a blackened, burnt bottom of a pan. And as you can see, I'm gonna have at least one helper tonight, maybe two. We'll see if she wakes up. No. Okay. And yeah, so Chris, if you want to take it away, I'm excited to start learning.
Yeah, definitely. I just saw we already got a first question, and you can use pretty much any vegetable in this. I'm actually going to talk about it as we're cooking, but this is like a pretty basic risotto recipe. It's a cup and a half of rice, 4 cups of liquid, or 4.5 cups of liquid. You're not going to use all the liquid. It usually ends up being about 3.5 cups ish. But that base recipe can be used for anything. In this case, we're adding Parmesan and lemon juice and lemon zest, as well as the peas for our nice, like, fresh vibe. Lemon works really great with the peas to help bring out that brightness. But you can do pretty much anything with this. Once I actually start cooking the rice, I'm just gonna sort of chat about it. But let's jump on in and start going. Hi guys, welcome. I hope you're excited. We are about to make some delicious risotto, as well as just some basic seared fish. Not super basic because it's striped bass from Martha's Vineyard, which is always good. I went to the store and was planning on getting some halibut, but they haven't landed any recently. So I got striped bass, which is upgrade, honestly. So pretty excited. I actually went fishing this weekend, hoping I'd get some blues or stripers and be like really, really local, but no luck, sadly. Oh well. So yeah, so we're gonna jump right in. If you guys are cooking along, you're going to want to turn your water on right now for boiling, for blanching your peas. If you have frozen peas, they're probably already blanched, so don't worry about that at all. But if you're blanching your peas, you're going to want to turn that on. And then you're also going to probably want to get your broth warming up. I'm going to do that right now. I got 2 quarts of broth. I got a low sodium one and a sodium one. I'm going to use mostly low sodium, but I'm going to top it off. Each one of these is a quart, so that's 4 cups. So I'm going to use all of the low sodium one, and then I'm going to top it off with some of the sodium one, just because I want as little salt as possible. For me, I'm a low salt guy, trying to keep my heart healthy, but you feel free to do whatever you want. The organic stuff is really good too. Really can't go wrong. Whoa. Although I definitely just went wrong because I opened that and it did not oh, that's not the right one. That's the right one. It did not open properly. Come on, get out of there. There we go. Perfect. Okay, cool. So those are done. So get your broth warming up, get your water boiling for blanching your peas. You're gonna want to have that ready to go. This dish is gonna come together pretty quickly. I'm not joking, I swear. So as per usual, we are always start off with mise en place. So I just had my broth over there, but I have all my ingredients together. I've got my supplies I think I'm going to need. I've got my water pot, my broth pot. I got my pot I'm going to cook my risotto in. This I think is probably one of the better pots you can use. This is a small version of what in a kitchen we'd call a rondeau, which is essentially just a massive high-walled saute pan. And then we got all my ingredients that are actually going to go in the risotto. I got my fish over there. Got my peas fresh from my garden because I couldn't find them in anybody else's. My herbs, my rice, and my Parmesan and shallots, everything we're gonna need to go. Got my tools too. I got my spatula, my knife, and my my zester, as well as a 1/2 cup measure, which is gonna be huge for this. Pretty much everything is increments of 1/2 cup in this recipe. And a spoon for tasting the risotto, because you don't know if it's done until you try it. And it's gonna just keep absorbing liquid. You could put that entire 8 quarts in there and it would still absorb it. You'd end up with a rice porridge, which, don't get me wrong, would be probably pretty delicious, but it wouldn't be risotto. And so we're gonna jump right in. I'm just gonna get you guys situated here so you can check out my cutting board. And there we go. Let's wrap them, sauce them. So the recipe, like I said, is pretty basic. I got tiny little shallots. They didn't have big ones, so I'm going to use 4, mainly because I really like shallots, but also just because I feel like I'm going to lose a lot with small ones. I always try and get as big a shallot as possible because with a small shallot like this, you end up losing a lot of the flesh. So you just cut off the floppy bit, and then you're going to cut it right in half. And make sure to cut the root right in half as well. It's going to help us keep it together so we can get a nice small dice on this, or a brunoise, as they say. We've done this before in some of my other programs. We're going to do it again today. Always important to keep repeating and trying the things that you learn. It's going to make you better and better at them. So yeah, we're just going to go ahead and cut these tips off, cut them in half, and go to town. Like I said, this recipe is pretty simple, pretty sort of universal. I would pretty much always have some sort of allium. By allium, I mean like the parts of the onion family. They're often sometimes called aromatics as well, although fennel is kind of an aromatic too, so it's not really the same, but it's generally something like this that is going to work as a good flavoring base. Garlic is obviously classic. I love garlic. We're not going to use garlic in this recipe because the flavor is going to be too much. It's going to sort of start to interact with our peas, and we're going to end up with a garlicky pea. Now, don't get me wrong, garlicky peas is great. I don't think that's a problem, but we want this to be light. We want it to go really well with the fish. If I was doing fried fish, maybe I'd put garlic in here for sure. But I really want the fish to be able to taste good. I want to be able to taste that lemon and those peas. And so because of that, I'm using mild flavors, which is why we're using shallot here. If I wanted to use shallot is kind of like the gentle giant of the onion family. It's got a lot of flavor, but it's not oppressive. It tends to be a background flavor that really just sort of adds to dishes as opposed to being the star. If I wanted something that was really intense, I'd probably have onions and garlic and all sorts of other nice flavors in here. But I want something that's kind of mild, but still really tasty. And then so what we're gonna do here, just clean your board off. Make sure we got a good thing. Yeah, perfect. So we're gonna brunoise this. The best way to do this, you can do it with an onion too. Anytime you're dicing, you want to cut up those rings on there. If you just cut it up normally, you're going to end up with a weird bit over on the sides. It's not going to be friendly. So we're going to cut those little side bits up. The way you do that is you just put your hand sort of down on the shallot, fingers out of the way. You're going to cut, but you're not going to cut all the way through. You're going to leave it attached to the root end so that you got some planks basically. So we're just going to go through and do that to all of these. You can cut them up as you go if you want. Sometimes, especially when I'm doing this many, I'll do all my knife cuts one at a time. Just sort of makes the batch work easier. And then you don't have a pile of very small shallots on your cutting board getting in your way. And so depending on how thick these are, I'm either doing 1 or 2 cuts. So great, those are all cut. Now we're going to do cuts down through the top. And then we're going to actually dice it. So you can just, because we did those side cuts, you can just cut straight down right now. And you're basically just trying to get as small as possible. And you're going to turn that over and you're just going to make a very nice dice out of it. Or a brunoise. It's probably not technically small enough to be a brunoise, so don't quote me on that. I think it's 1 millimeter or something like that. A dice is 1 centimeter. And then a chop is 1 inch, I believe, something like that. I don't think they even use inches, right? It's all the best culinary experiences are in Europe, right? Right? No, I'm just kidding. They're all right here. All right. So again, you're just chopping straight down, getting sort of into sticks, and then you're going to cut those sticks. Make sure you keep your fingers out of the way. And you're just cutting them into nice little tiny pieces. I'm not like too worried about these being like perfectly tiny. And if you like big chunks, feel free to leave them in there. Risotto is designed so that the rice is really the star. And then you usually will put like 1 thing in there to sort of be a sort of side player. In this case, it's going to be the peas. We don't really want chunks of shallot. We want shallot flavor. That's why we're cutting them really small. But if you want chunks of shallot, I'm not going to stop you. You definitely are working more towards sort of a porridge style at that point. or like a stew kind of. But you know, it's still going to be really tasty. So don't hesitate. If you want big chunks, just chunk these stinkers up. They're going to be great. I actually think that's enough. I maybe didn't need the last shallot, so I'm just going to save that, and I'm going to use it for something else. Make fried shallots for a salad to go along with this. Great. So we are going to start with some butter in our pan, about a tablespoon of butter. And we're going to start to soften our shallots. We're not really, we're not looking for color this time around. Again, if we get too much color on them, they're going to start to stick out. We really don't want that. We want them to be a flavoring agent, not a, we don't want them to look anyway. We don't want them to really do anything but be tasty. So we'll get this butter melting here. The water is almost boiling, which is nice. Awesome. Sweet. I'm just gonna pop us up here real quick. Got to pull up my my cheat sheet. Like I said, I haven't made risotto in a hot minute. It's fairly simple, but it's always worthwhile to double check your recipe so you don't make any mistakes. Cool. So while we wait, it's gonna, like I said, it's gonna happen pretty rapidly. So let's go ahead and get our lemon ready now. I grabbed two, so I wasn't really sure which one was heavier. Whenever you're grabbing citrus, you want something with a nice dark color on the skin, not too dark, because that can mean that it's actually gone rotten. But you want it to be that color, you know, either orange or yellow or green, depending on what you're looking for. And then you want it to be heavy. You want it to feel heavy for its size. That means it's gonna have a lot of juice. So I grabbed the nice lemon here. It's got a lot of juice. And we are going to zest it now. We're going to save the zest for later, but before we zest it, we're going to squeeze it out. We're going to press it down. You want to roll your citrus like this. What that does is it breaks up the little cells in there that are holding in the juice and gets them ready, so they're going to juice a lot better. Now that that's done, we can go ahead and zest this and reserve the zest. So I've got this nice microplane. I really like it. A lot of people like to zest like this with it. I think that's crazy. If you turn it around and just pull it towards you, it zests way easier, and it also collects all the zest right on the back of the microplane. So that's the move. If you ever need to zest something, if you're zesting obviously like on top of something, like a lot of people see that at like a restaurant, you know, you have somebody at the table and they're zesting. Turn this water off, it's boiling. My butter off the heat. They're trying to zest things onto your plate, maybe like table side. That's generally how you do it. You know, you do it like that. And so people see that and they tend to emulate it. But if you're at home and you're doing it for yourself, this is just infinitely easier. So I highly suggest you do this. The zest we're going to add in last. It's going to add a really nice lemon flavor. The juice is going to cook, and a lot of the flavor of the juice is going to cook off. We are going to have a lot of that acid from the juices, which is really what we want from the juice. But the flavor is definitely going to cook off a little bit. So this zest will be a nice way to sort of infuse that lemon flavor back into the dish at the end. Beautiful. So we got some butter, nice and warm. I'm gonna go ahead and put my shallots in there. And again, you don't want color. I'm gonna go ahead and turn my heat off because I have 0 temperature control still. I did order infinite switches today. Very excited, gonna get this fixed up. I do happen to be a handyman as well as a chef. So if you need anything fixed, you let me know. So we're just gonna cook the shallots off. We're really just trying to get them soft and a little bit of that raw onion flavor cooked off. They're gonna have plenty of time to cook in here anyways, because we are gonna, you know, be cooking risotto, which just takes a decent amount of time. Let's get warm, nice. The broth is nice and warm. Ooh, super tasty too. The broth I got is a little bit brown, which is kind of unfortunate. I hope it doesn't discolor our risotto, but here's hoping that it will be a-okay. Awesome.
Hey, Chris, I think we have one question here. How much butter did you put in the pan initially?
Butter, 1 tablespoon.
Awesome, thank you.
Yep, yeah, just the 1 tablespoon of butter. We're not going to finish this with butter. A lot of times in restaurants, they'll finish their risotto with butter, but honestly, that's cheating. The whole point of risotto is that you are making it creamy using the starch from the grain and the thyme. And so our hope here is that we can do just that, and we don't have to cheat by adding butter at the end. A lot of recipes will add almost like a whole stick of butter into a recipe just like this, and it blows my mind. Like, there's no need to make food unhealthy for you when you can make it tasty other ways. And so we're using 1 tablespoon of butter because butter is delicious. Don't get me wrong, especially with shallots. But I don't want to go overboard. All right, so that's about what my shallots are right now. They are starting to get a little colored. Some of that is just the red from the shallot skin coming off. But I think those are soft enough that we're pretty much ready to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut this lemon, and I'm going to get that ready to be juiced. We're going to go in there with our rice and our herbs first. So that's 1.5 cups of rice. I got a 1/2 cup measure here, so we're going to do this 3 times. And we're toasting the rice. This is a classic method that you use for if you were cooking like a pilaf. And pilaf is really just rice that was cooked before it was sort of boiled. Usually you put rice in water and then you let it boil and you cover it and you steam it and it's done. Pilaf, basically, you cook your rice first in something. In this case, we're cooking it in butter and shallots, and then you add liquid to it and boil and steam. That would be a pilaf. We're making a risotto, so we're not going to actually, boil and steam. We're going to slow simmer and cook, which is going to give us a different texture. But the cooking the rice beforehand is something that you would do in a pilaf. And so that's just a little bit of factual stuff for you guys to have. If you ever like, what's a pilaf? Because I often don't know either. That's what a pilaf is. We're gonna put a little thyme in right now. I don't have any fresh thyme. If you do, I would have put it in before I put the rice in, just so just so it gets a little bit more fat on it. It tends to sort of sizzle and snap. It's a really fun sound, but because I just have dried, I'm just putting it in now. Awesome. Letting my heat get back up. I had turned that off and I forgot to turn it back on, so it is not super hot yet. Let's see if we got anything else going on. Oh yeah, let's put some black pepper in there too. Always love black pepper. Beautiful. And so I'm going to be using my back burner here. So I'm going to go ahead and get that warm right now, just because my front burner is so insanely hot. Awesome. That is hot enough. I'm actually like toasting my rice. I don't want to get any color on this if I can help it. So I'm just going to stir this, get that nice and good together. And we're going to go ahead and hit it with some liquid. So the first liquid would be your wine. If you have it, if you don't have wine, you're going right into broth, which is what I'm doing. So go ahead and put a 1/2 cup of your broth in there. Gonna go a little crazy. Turn my fan on. And we're gonna get our lemon juice in there as well. I'm using a strainer here so that my seeds don't go into the liquid or into the rice. Not tasty, does not taste, definitely not the best mouthfeel. Beautiful, and it is already eaten up that first 1/2 cup of liquid. So we're gonna go and put some more in there right now. And that's part of the thing, when you toast the rice like that, it does get pretty thirsty. You're basically drying out an already dry product. So that first 1/2 cup's probably gonna go pretty fast for you as well. Beautiful, there we go. So this is pretty much the stage our risotto is gonna be at until it's done. It's sort of soupy. There's some water at the bottom, but the rice and everything is sort of in there. It's nice. I do think that that our broth is going to make this not a beautiful white, bright color, but that's okay. It's what it is. I chose veggie broth because I want it to be, where I'm at. But chicken broth or clarified broth would potentially have been a better move. But that's okay. It's still going to taste really flipping good. I'm sticking by my choices. So we're gonna put that on the back burner now. You want it to be bubbling kind of slowly. We're gonna go ahead and set our timer right now for 15 minutes. I know it says 20, but we want to make sure that we don't overcook it. So we're going to set the timer, and we're just going to keep an eye on it. And every time that it starts to absorb the liquid, and it's going to happen pretty fast, you're just going to go ahead and add another half cup. Whoop. Give it a good stir. And part of the reason why you want your broth hot is so that when you add that broth to the mix, it doesn't drop your temperature and stop the rice from cooking. You want that rice to be cooking continuously for the entire 20 minutes, just like it would be if you were steaming it. So I actually want to see little bubbles here. So I'm just going to turn that heat up. Let me put it back over here where the heat's a little bit more hot still. But you want to stir it pretty regularly. It doesn't have to be too crazy. Got some water boiling over here as well. Oh, I dropped some on my risotto. Get in there. Beautiful. Okay, cool. We're just gonna leave that right there. Awesome. We're gonna jump into the peas part of this experience. So while that's cooking, we're going to go ahead and we're gonna shell our peas. I've got a nice hole in the bottom pot over here. My stove element's currently set at on because I only have one setting. I got holes in the bottom of this for straining it out. But I would, if I was doing, or sorry, the one in the back. I'm on medium right now. You really just want to get the water to be sort of slightly bubbling. You don't want it to be boiling necessarily. It's almost like a simmer. But I have a small element in the back, and my pan is much bigger than it, so I probably have it a little bit higher than I normally would. Probably like a medium low. You'll know it should stay hot. You know, you definitely want it to be pretty hot. So I got some nice peas here. I'm going to show you how to shell them. It's pretty easy. You have the pea like this, and you've got sort of like a little curve in the pea here. You want the curve facing up at you, and you're just going to basically push on the pea. Sometimes they snap easier. You want to put your finger right at that little seam and just sort of open it up. And when you do that, you should get all the peas. You can save the shells if you want to. A lot of people like to, you can like blend them up. Like if you were doing this, beforehand, and you had a little bit more time maybe, or if you just felt like being fancy, you could actually blend the peas into the veggie stock, or even better, use the pea shells as part of your veggie stock. That way you get some sort of extra pea flavor in the stock. I really kind of like that as a vibe. Wow, look at this one. It's got so many peas in it. Oh my gosh. Okay, this is great. So these came from my garden, so I'm like doubly stoked about this. Perfect. So I have just the right temperature now on my risotto. I can see it's bubbling a little bit right in the center where my heat element is, which is what I want. As long as I keep stirring it, that heat's going to get put all throughout the risotto, and it's going to keep it nice and well cooked. So great. So let's just go to town on these peas. I'm just going to shell them up. Have you ever shelled peas with your grandma? Maybe. It's a lot of fun. You really don't have to worry about keeping them nice or anything like that. You just want to kind of get your finger in there, run it right down the line, and then pull them out. And there's a lot of different ways to do it. You can pull the cord, and then they open a little bit easier too. By that I mean you like rip the top off and pull the little string out. They open a little easier after that, but I find like that's too many steps. Once I really get in the groove here, yeah, there we go. You'll see it just doesn't seem to really be worth it. So we're gonna shell these peas. And I don't know how many peas this is. It's probably going to be a little less than I should, but that's okay. We're going to blanch these. I've got some frozen ones we can put in there as well. I'll toss them in at sort of the last second of blanching so that they'll all be together. And nobody will ever know the difference. Oh, this one is not being happy. Maybe, that's a good method too. I'm sort of developing a new method here as I go. These peas are more fresh than I'm used to. You can like sort of twist them too, and that kind of gets you in there. Figure it out. I got big hands, so like doing small things isn't always I'm not always the best at it as far as specifics, but yeah, see that one's more like what I'm talking about. Usually when you press on the center like that, they kind of just snap open and you can just get the peas right out. If anybody has better pea methods, please put them in the comments. I'm going to check them in about 20 seconds here when I put another half cup of liquid into my risotto. I'll try anything. You tell me what. Whoa. We got peas all over the house. It's good. The cats can have some stuff, fun stuff to play with. So if you do happen to like pick out your own peas, you want to make sure they're nice and fat. That means that they have a lot of peas in them. You can sort of tell the difference. Maybe that's not the best case between these. Maybe you know, one's a little thinner than the other, and that's just going to have bigger, fatter, juicier peas, which is really what you want for a dish like this. Especially, you want them to be bigger than the rice. That way, they sort of really stand out, and your mouth is going to know that you're eating something special. All right, my risotto looks good. I'm gonna go ahead and add another half cup of liquid to that. It doesn't have to be exactly half cup, just, you know, about. Make sure we give it a good stir. Beautiful. Make sure you scrape your sides too. You don't want any rice sticking on the sides. You want it to be in that liquid, because that liquid's what's cooking it. That liquid's what's making it delicious. I definitely should have done a clarified stock, but hey, you know, whatever. You learn, whatever you learn. I just was trying to avoid the salt, you know, they didn't have anything else that was salt free. I mean, realistically, I should have just made my own, but I didn't want you guys to have to sit here while I boiled stock, you know. So yeah, so our risotto is going to be a little more brown as opposed to like the bright white and green that I would have appreciated. But don't make the same mistake I make. I get to make them here, so you don't have to make them at home. Or maybe some of you were smart and already got clarified stock, and your risotto looks beautiful and white right now, and you're going, haha, I know more than Chef Look cooks, which is a good victory. I would take that victory as well. All right, so my water's going really good. Almost done getting all these peas. I got a couple more left. Risotto is going just perfectly. I wish I could like show you the bubbles. It's tiny little bubbles. It's little tiny bubbles. And you can tell that the risotto is going well because the bubbles are sort of like, they're not popping. They're just like releasing and then getting smaller and coming back because there's a lot of starch in there that's sort of keeping their shape, helping them keep their shape. That's how you know that you're good. You're doing the right thing. The starch is coming out of the rice and helping to make sort of a creamy, not a sauce, but, you know, cooking liquid that you're cooking in. And little tiny bubbles, like we're talking, you know, the size of a pea maybe is the size of the bubble. You don't want them to be big. You don't want them to be super tiny. That's how I know I'm at the right temperature. It looks great. Ooh, that's a lot of peas in that one. Ooh, that is a jackpot. I love these big ones. So I'm actually having bigger luck here going off the bottom. I forgot to look. Did anybody have peas? Nah, cool. I was hoping somebody had like a super secret grandma technique or something like that, you know? Grandmas always know best. If you ever need help in the kitchen, ask your grandma or grandpa or, you know, any elder that you may have. Because back in the day, there was a lot less tools, a lot less things were done for us. And so we tend to have some really, really good techniques. Awesome. So my liquid's already absorbed again. And this is going to speed up a little bit as you go because the rice is going to start to grow, but the amount of liquid you're adding is going to be the same. And so it's going to absorb faster as the rice grain is cooked more and it gets a lot softer. That liquid is just going to go right on in there and make it look tasty. So just add some more broth. Again, give it a good mix. Make sure it's all set up, get everything off the edges, and let it hang out. We'll keep blanching peas. So far, I have 6 minutes left on my timer from my 15-minute timer, which means we have essentially about 11 minutes left in cooking. I think I've added liquid 6 times. So that makes about sense. We're about halfway through cooking. I've added almost about half of the liquid I plan on adding. You always have more liquid just in case, but it usually ends up being the same as normal rice ratios, maybe like a half cup more. So while I'm doing this, like I was saying earlier, this recipe is really, really basic. It's pretty much just risotto 101, which is an awesome place to be. But because of that, we can really change up the ingredients. Right now, we're focusing on peas, lemon, and parmesan. Those are our sort of main flavors. Obviously, there's some thyme in there, but I feel like thyme is just delicious, so it goes in everything. But peas, lemon, and parmesan are sort of our main flavors here. So what you can do is you can take those flavors and you can push them anywhere you want. If you change one, you probably want to change the others. Pretty much any green vegetable like broccoli or asparagus is going to go just fine with parmesan and lemon. But if you wanted to switch it up to something crazy, Or if you want to switch up the protein, for instance, you know, in this case, we're doing fish, that might change your recipe. So one thing I had a really good idea for was you could do a mix of coconut, what's it called? Coconut milk and broth for your liquid. Do like kind of like a red curry rice with maybe some lime in there for instead of the lemon. And then you could do that with like some chicken, or you know, a nice like fried tofu if you have a recipe you like. That could be a lot of fun. Really, like definitely a fully different experience than what we're doing right now. Or you could just go, you know, you could go really heavy black pepper and parmesan, and do it with almost like a cacio pepe, which is a classic. You know, take the lemon out entirely, really focus on the black pepper and parmesan, and do something more like a pasta in that way. In that sense, I had a really good idea when I was on my way home, but I can't remember it now. Let's see, what else could you do? Oh yeah, you could do like lime and mint, which would also be really good with the peas, but would totally change the flavor profile entirely from sort of the parsley and thyme that we've got going on right now. I think lime and mint is a great combo, and that'd be good with maybe like chicken again instead. Mint can be decent with fish, but it's not bad with fish. Don't get me wrong, but I tend to like it with a more solid protein. All right, peas are done. Awesome. I think I probably have like a cup of peas, so I'm definitely gonna need more. I'm just gonna go ahead and drop those in my boiling water, and we're just gonna wait. While it's happening, I'm gonna stir my risotto. Probably add another half cup. If you have like a steamer basket or like a pasta basket for your boiling water, now's the time to use it. It's really helpful for getting all the peas out at the same time. What you're gonna do, what you're gonna see as you put these peas in here, is you're gonna see their color start to change. They're gonna go from a sort of pale green to a very dark and beautiful, delicious looking green. And they've just done that for me over here. I want to leave them in for about a minute past that, just because we do want them to be cooked. We don't want them to just be blanched to the point of being, you know, shelf stable. We want them to cook. We don't want to cook them too much though, so we don't want to leave them in there too long. And if you are worried about how cooked they are, go ahead and use your spoon, grab one out, and give it a little taste. Those are good. Oh, those are so good. I'm gonna take these out of here. I'm gonna add my frozen peas. I do want a little bit more peas, so I did buy some frozen peas just in case. I got these ones that actually call themselves sweet peas. I'm really hoping, oh yeah, that they're nice and big when I open them up. So just gonna toss some more in there. We're gonna add them in to our blanching water, and just that's gonna sort of get them all to be the same temperature and the same cooked. The ones that you get frozen are usually pretty well blanched, but they're not completely cooked because they expect you to cook them a little bit more. And so you just want to get these cooked again to the point where they're sort of they're soft. You don't want them super soft. You want them just like a little bit of mouthfeel, just like our risotto. We want it to have that same kind of al dente vibe. Risotto's looking super good. The temperature is right on point. I am like a little bit under medium on mine, and that's a small burner. So I think if you had a burner the right size, you'd want to be between medium and low, pretty much right on the nose. Just gonna stir these up, make sure they're nice and together. Looking great. Nobody's even gonna know that we cheated and grabbed some from the store. They're gonna think that the ones that we got from our garden are just so amazing and delicious. Those are done, perfect. Oh, they're so good. So again, you want them to be soft with a little bit of snap. I lost some. And we're gonna run these under cold water immediately. You can ice bath them if you want. One of the reasons why I use this pot with the bottom is so I could do an ice bath, kind of like with pasta, or so do a cold water bath. I'm just spraying them down with cold water. We just want to stop the cooking process because we don't want to overcook them. You can ice bath them, like I said, it's going to do it really fast. But I tend to just, I don't know, I don't like wasting the ice in the middle of summer. I don't have like an ice maker on my fridge, so I have to make every single bit of ice that I use. So that tends to sort of curb my ice use in the summer, mainly because I want it available for other stuff. All right, so we're going to turn this water off. We are done with you. Thank you for your service. Now that's hot. Beautiful. Okay, get my stuff together over here for doing fish. A nice little stir. This risotto is looking really, really good, guys. As you can see, it's getting bigger, much bigger. And we've got sort of a nice, like smooth risotto-y vibe. Still got some cooking left. There's my 15-minute timer. So we're gonna go ahead and set that timer for 4 minutes now. Again, we always want to err on the side of undercooking things because you can always taste it and see what it looks like. And then I'm going to add some more liquid in here because it is asking for it. Oh yeah. Beautiful. Back there, awesome. Don't need you anymore. Well, I'm gonna need that when I get to the fish going. Awesome, cool. All right, so we're gonna just get ourselves prepped up and ready to go. I'm gonna go ahead and chop up some parsley. I could only get the organic parsley. I don't know why they didn't have normal parsley. We're just gonna have a little bit for a garnish. I'll just chop the whole thing up. Why not? Parsley is great. I really like stems with my parsley and my cilantro. I think they have a lot of flavor as well. So I'm just gonna fold these over, make a nice little bundle, and then just chop it up. We're gonna do pretty rough chop. We don't want to do like super duper tiny pieces of parsley. You could definitely do that, especially if you're in a restaurant. That's how you probably get it. Some parsley on top is like really small pieces. But I like when you can see a little bit of the edge of the parsley, and it kind of makes it look I don't know, it makes it look more fresh to me. All right, so I'm just gonna put this in this nice little bowl I've got here. Beautiful. And the pea shoots I got are already, I got some pea shoots, which is kind of a fun little surprise. The pea shoots I got are already ready to rock. So those I'm just gonna leave over there. Awesome. Get my Parmesan cheese cracked, so that's ready. Oh, that's good stuff. I actually bought good Parmesan cheese. I usually go for the cheap stuff, but this dish is really gonna enjoy having like a nice actual shredded Parmesan instead of just like grated Parmesan that's just like super fine and dissolves. It's gonna be nice to have a little bit of mouthfeel in there. So let's go ahead and just keep stirring our risotto. Don't forget about it. It's looking really good right now. One more time. I think let's try it. Let's try it first. Let's try it first. Let's get a little bit. Yeah, it needs more. So good though. When you try your risotto, what you're looking for is a mouthfeel thing. It should feel like there's still some texture to it. This is getting too hot now. Let's see. It should feel like there's still some texture to it. It should feel, but it shouldn't feel raw. You shouldn't get necessarily a crunch like you're eating raw rice. It should be sort of soft with just a little bit of mouthfeel to it. So we're getting close over here. I don't know if I'm going to need to add any more liquid. I'm going to let this cook off and then try it again. Yeah, we do have a timer going, but I'm going to just turn it off because that's my 4-minute timer just about to go off. So I'm just gonna watch it now and let the liquid cook off. I'm gonna let it cook off more than I have been letting it cook off, and see where we end up as far as cooked status, and then we're gonna be good to go. All right, so the star of the show is coming in. We got some striped bass, my friends. I am so very excited about this. I got what I think is probably the most perfect piece. I asked for a pound. They gave me way more than a pound. I was like, oh no, why did you do that? But I was also secretly a little bit happy because I really like striped bass. Whenever I can, I try and catch it. That's what the peas look like when they're done, by the way. They're really nice and bright and green and delicious. And we're just gonna put those over there to go in our risotto when we're ready. We got that, parsley, Parmesan. Those are gonna be our finishes. So one cool thing about striped bass is you can eat the skin. So we're gonna keep it on. You could take this off if you want to. It's pretty easy. You almost can just peel it off. But we're gonna eat it because I like it. So you just want to give it a quick feel, see if there's any bones in there. I don't think there's going to be any in this piece. It's a good piece. And we're going to portion it out. So you're looking at usually 4 ounces, but you want a nice sort of brick. You want something that looks nice. And so we're looking at this right now, and I'm seeing there's a nice brick right there. There's a decent brick. This center bit is like the bloodline, and you can totally eat that. A lot of people don't like to. So, you know, we're gonna go for a brick on the other side. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut it up right along that center line first. We're just gonna go straight down. You wanna do nice long motions when you're cutting through fish, so you don't mess up the flesh. And especially when you get to the skin, it can be a little bit tough. And my knife isn't super sharp for fish too, so come on. Perfect. And then over here, we're just gonna go ahead and cut out that center bloodline. Like I said, you can eat it. It goes really good in like fish stock. I'm gonna just cook it, but I don't wanna plate it in this dish particular. We're really going for something that's a little bit more fancy. And so this is gonna look weird, but it's really, really tasty. So I am gonna cook it. I'm just not gonna plate it. It's gonna be a little snack, you know? Beautiful. Risotto's looking super nice. I'm actually gonna turn it down a little bit so I don't burn it, but or more so that I don't overcook it. I want to really be like paying attention here. It's looking so good. And it is gonna cook a little bit more after we turn it off, so we don't want to we don't have to necessarily go all the way. We just want it to be basically done. So let's give it a little try again. I think we're there. Awesome. Okay. Oh, that's so good. Okay, so now we got this piece right here. This is probably 2 portions. There's a little bit of like belly material right here. So I'm just gonna use that same technique I used with the onions, kind of. Just put my hand on there flat and then just sort of try and cut that off. I just don't want anybody to eat that. So this is gonna be 2 portions. One about equal, say right about there. So that's kind of what you're looking for. It's about a 4-ounce portion, nice cube piece. We got another one there. And then this one's gonna get us probably 3 portions. This is way more than I was really expecting to get today. But hey, this is where we're at. So again, a nice like 4-ish ounce portion. And as you get away from the head of the fish and towards the tail, the meat does get thinner. So make sure you make your pieces a little bit bigger. You can see the one on the side is a little bigger just because it's got less meat. And then I got my 2 little snackies. So that's great. So we got enough for 5 people, which is way more than we usually cook for on this program. Usually we stick with 4, but hey, what are you gonna do? You know, fishmonger gave me fish. Fishmonger is right, you know. All right. So first things first, before we start searing this fish off, I'm just gonna get my pan kind of heated up. Oh, it's already hot, actually. Why are you hot? Oh well. I'm gonna finish my risotto off because I think it's done. Oh yeah, you're definitely done, baby. Okay, so I'm gonna take it off the back burner. So as you can see, it's really nice and thick. It's got a nice sort of texture to it. It sort of plops off your spoon. That's risotto. And when I taste it, I'm not getting any crunchy bits. I can feel the rice individual grains, but I'm not getting any crunchy bits. So that to me means it's done. It's so done. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put our flavoring agents in. So in this case, that's gonna be our lemon zest. I think it wants more black pepper, so I'm gonna go for more black pepper. Our Parmesan cheese, a half cup. Yeah, that's a half cup, sure. Use as much as you want, you know, it's Parmesan, so it's gonna be delicious. Oh, it smells so good. I'm gonna hit a little bit more broth in there just to help the Parmesan dissolve. I don't wanna lose that sauce that I've got going. And my peas, but I'm gonna mix this Parmesan before I put the peas in. I don't wanna mix too much with the peas in there and have them get mushy. So I'm just gonna turn my heat on here. Oh, so good. So I'm just stirring this up, getting that everything well distributed, helping that Parmesan to melt a little bit. Adding a little bit of heat. It's actually it's absorbing some more. Look, I'm just gonna put a tiny bit more in there. You do want it to be kind of saucy, you know, not super saucy, but you want it to be saucy, and it's gonna absorb more as we go. Usually when you're cooking this in a restaurant, you're cooking it beforehand, and so you want to leave it with a little bit of crunch. And then what happens is on the line,
while we're cooking it on the line, we add a little bit more broth in to heat it up, and that finishes the cooking. So we're cooking this pretty much perfectly, and so we're going to add that broth in right now. That looks good. You can see the cheese in there now. It's got that nice sort of gooey, even more gooey. We're gonna go ahead and put our peas in. We're gonna take that off the heat. We don't want the peas to cook anymore. They're already cooked. I'm just gonna stir that in. And again, I have a brown broth, so this isn't gonna look as appetizing as I had hoped, but it's gonna be really freaking delicious. All right, yeah, so good. And so if you were storing this for the next day, I would store the peas separate. I would cook the rice a little bit less, like I said, and then you can add that extra broth in and the peas in right as you're cooking it, right as you're about to serve it to your friends. Oh, my pan is smoking. All right, let's get my fan back on. Awesome. So there's our pea risotto. Pretty beautiful, if I do say so myself, even with the brown color. Again, if we use the clarified broth, this would be like a bright white against the green. But hey, like I said, I'm here to make mistakes so you don't have to. And we didn't make any flavor mistakes. I can tell you that right now. We're going in there for a final bite, just to make sure everything's good, see if I need any more black pepper or salt or anything like that. That's delicious. Oh yeah. The lemon zest, really bringing it together. I love it. All right, let's see. We got some stuff. Scissors, yes. That is a great idea. So I use just arborio rice, which is the question was, I use scissors to cut my herbs, and I think that's fine. It's really nice, in fact. The type of rice I'm using is just, it's an arborio rice. I really like the one that comes in like the tubs. I don't remember the brand name. We don't really talk about brands on here. But I really like that one. And then, yeah, mills. But arborio is what it's called, or risotto rice. Sometimes it's just called risotto rice. Let's get our fish going. We don't need the broth anymore, so we're gonna move that over here. Turn the heat off there. Heat off everywhere. Ooh. Get my pan nice and center here. It is smoking like crazy, which is good. All right, so we're gonna put some oil in there. Don't be bashful. You don't want it to stick. All right, super smoky. So I'm gonna cook this fish 2 ways. You just hang out over there. So I like crispy skin, but I really like crispy flesh. And so I'm gonna cook 3 of these with the flesh side down first. I'm gonna cook 2 of them with the skin side down first. When you cook the skin first, you get really crispy skin, but when you flip it, you tend not to get as much of a crust on the other side as it's finishing cooking. But if you cook it flesh side down first, you get a really nice crust. And then the skin it's gonna crisp. It just wants to, whereas the flesh tends to want to stay moist. So you're gonna get plenty of crispy skin, but you're also gonna have crispy flesh, which is kind of what I want. So I'm gonna do 3 that way. I'm gonna do 2 the other way, and you can sort of see the difference. It's not gonna be massive when you look at it, but when you go to eat it, it is gonna be it's gonna be a different experience. So we're just gonna place them in the pan, and we're gonna swirl our oil around as we do that. Make sure there's plenty there, protecting the fish from the pan. We're gonna do these 2 skin side down. Get my heat up. All right, and I didn't season. Oh yeah, our little snackies. I did not season that fish. I hope you noticed. Again, I'm going low salt. Feel free to put salt, pepper, whatever you want on those fish. Fish swims in the ocean, so it tends to be pretty salty already on its own. So it's not really a big deal to not salt it. It's going to be okay. It's going to survive. So do you, if you want to salt it, pepper it, put pretty much anything on there. You can put more thyme on there even. Go to town. It's going to be delicious. I promise. All right, do a little cleanup. Always clean up while you can. We're just doing a hard sear here. My stove is crazy, so it's not always ideal for searing. I really want this on like a medium high right now, but I kind of, like I said, it's have on and off. So we've got it on. I'm gonna come over here and give it a little bit of a swirl. Make sure the oil is evenly distributed. My fish in the center isn't getting left out. And you can kind of see when it's ready to flip. You can peek at the bottom if you want to, just sort of lift up a flap and see what it looks like. But you can also see that there's going to be like a whiteness that starts to work its way up the fish. And that's it getting cooked, right? And so when it's about halfway up, that's when you want to flip it. And so we're going to take a peek at that again. We're starting to get there. Let's take a little peek at this guy. Another reason why I like cooking flesh side down is you can tell when the flesh side is ready. You can see the crisp, but the skin is, you don't really know. It's gonna be so good, guys. I absolutely love striped bass. Let's take a little peek. Another thing that fish will do, oh yeah. Another thing that fish will do that's really good indicator that it's cooking is it will start to release its fats. You'll see little bubbles of like a goosh coming out the sides. That's their fats, and that's good. That means it's starting to cook. Potentially means it's overcooking. So that's definitely a good sign to flip it. We're gonna go ahead and flip these right now. Whoa. Well, snackies are very fatty, and so they're kind of exploding with the pressure. Awesome. So now, if you wanted to, this would be a great place to add some more butter into the meal. You could put some butter in that pan right now, turn the heat off, and use the butter to baste the fish. What that's going to do is essentially deep fry it in butter, which is a fabulous idea for flavor. Not incredibly good for your heart necessarily, but you could do that right now. I'm not going to do that. What I did, I turned the heat off. I'm going to let the residual heat from my cast iron as well as the residual heat from the element underneath that just finish these pieces off. I'm not going to touch it again. I'm just going to let it do its thing. And when they're cooked, they're going to be cooked. You can let this go for up to 5 minutes if you want, depending on how cooked you want your fish. You can usually give it a little poke. It'll kind of tell. But worst case scenario, you can always just stick a fork in there and just sort of pull one of the pieces apart, or even temp it. If you have a thermometer, toss the thermometer in there, you'll be all set. So while we wait for that to finish, we're going to get our risotto plated up. Let's do that. Let's see. I want a kind of too much brown. Let's go for a white plate. Like a black plate like this would normally be something that I want to do for this dish because I got white fish and white risotto. So let's go for it, actually. You want your risotto to be white, obviously. This is not like the 8th time I've said this, but my risotto is more of a brown. So I'm just going to check my risotto, see if it needs any more liquid. I do think it does want a little bit more broth. It started to sort of seize up and get sort of solid again. There's no liquid in the pan, and you do want risotto to have that little bit of broth. It gives it a nice, it's almost like a sauce for it. So we're just going to hit this with a little bit of that, get that sauce moving, get it working, make it nice and creamy again. Again, this is a part where a lot of recipes tell you to add butter because butter is delicious, let's be honest. But broth is going to do the exact same thing, and it's not going to add anything crazy in there that's going to, make, oh God, this looks so good. I am so excited to devour this meal. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and use some of our negative space here. So we're going to make a nice big pile of risotto here, a little bit off center. We're going to put our garnish on top, and we're going to rest the fish right on top. And then we're going to garnish a second time with our pea shoots because we were lucky enough to have them. So let's see. So, the design here is for about 4 very hungry people. So use about 1/4 of your risotto. You want to go right off center there. And we want this to be kind of high, but we don't want it to be super high like we were doing with the salad. So we want to sort of push it down a little bit. Clean up the plate. Oh, it's so good. And for garnish on this, we're going to hit it up with a little bit of parsley. Some more parmesan. And I'm going to do a little more black pepper. Fresh ground. Perfect. That's all on the plate. And then we're going to go get one of our pieces of fish. So we're going to do a little just going to show you the difference because I mentioned that I was cooking these pieces differently. He wants a little more time, actually. We're gonna go. All right, so this one is flesh side down first. This one's skin side down first. So that's what the skin looks like on this one. That's what the flesh looks like on this one. We're gonna flip them. And you've got skin on the flesh side first, and you've got skin or flesh on the skin side first. And this one actually crisps up pretty good. So I might have just disproven my own theory. But at the end of the day, really do whatever you like. I personally like the skin like this. I think this one's a little bit more crispy, but you really can't tell the difference. So it's not gonna end the world if you do it either way. You know, some people are like, you gotta do skin side first. It's all malarkey, you don't have to do anything. All right, so we're just gonna put a nice little piece of fish right on top here. Beautiful. And then to sort of finish this off, we're gonna take some of these pea shoots, really great and fresh and delicious. And we're just gonna sort of like make a little bit of a crown on top of the fish. Turn the span off. All my heat's off. Awesome. Beautiful. And guys, that right there is your delicious sweet pea risotto and fish dish. Nice and high. High is always good. And that's going to taste absolutely delicious. And that's enough to feed at least one person.
That looks beautiful, Chris. Restaurant quality at home.
Yeah. You know, my chef would have been like, why'd you make brown broth? This is what happens.
Quick question, actually.
Working in a kitchen, you know?
So I kind of missed this at the beginning. Were you continually adding a hot broth?
Yes, hot broth. Yep.
Okay. And then also, is this what you were talking about?
Yes.
It's not this kind of rice, but this brand.
Yeah, that's the stuff I usually get. If you can get
Rice Select.
Yeah, exactly. I like it. I like it because it's not because it's cheap, but because you can use as much as you want. I like the container. Like now I have an open bag of arborio rice. I'm like, I'm gonna make risotto with some MVM shiitakes. Like, don't get me wrong, but I wish I didn't have an open bag. You know, I like being able to close it. So that's just me. Realistically, I guess this uses better plastics. I don't know. I never know. At the end of the day, I just like the other one better. There's no real reason for it. But guys, thank you so much. Like I said, we made it in 5:58. Woo woo! First one of the hour. I really hope you guys have a great night. I hope you enjoy cooking this. And next month we're gonna have a lot of fun. I'm gonna whip out a kitchen tool that most of you probably don't have, but that's a-okay. It's still gonna be a lot of fun, and you're gonna get to watch me work with some raw ingredients. I hope you stick around for that. And if you want to know what it is, make sure you sign up for our newsletter on our website. It's under the About section newsletter, and you can sign up right there. You'll be the first one to be able to sign up for this program when we post it at the beginning of July. So
wonderful. Thank you so much, Chris.
of course.
We'll see you later.
Bye,
Bye everybody.